Yo, yo, yo. Hey everyone. Okay, we're all set up, so we're starting a little bit late. Welcome to another edition of Rokoko Office Hours. I'm Sam Lazarus, Creative Director for Rokoko. And today we have kind of a special stream. We're going to focus really closely on the new Mesh to MetaHuman workflow process. And I'm just going to turn down my desktop audio to make sure it's not fighting. Let me know if there's any problems with the audio. But yeah, hey, Jags, what's up? Henry. Yeah, we're not going to record Mocap today. Instead, we're just going to go through the workflow for Mesh to MetaHuman, which is the amazing new plugin that Unreal just added. And this is, as you can see, I've got my attempt at Tom Cruise. Which I think is actually pretty amazing. And of course, you can put a lot more effort into your creations. But this new way of processing MetaHumans is really cool, and I'm excited to go through it. Hey, Henry. Okay, so, without further ado, I think we should just kind of jump into it. We're not going to be making Tom Cruise today, and yeah, it's pretty Tom-like, right? But what we are going to be doing is using a artist sculpt to create a MetaHuman. So a lot of the Mesh to MetaHuman workflows that I've been seeing have been focused around photo scans of your head, right? Which is really cool. That's a great use for it. We're not going to focus on that. Instead, we're going to go and find a bust, like a Z-sculpt bust online, and we can feed that in. And what's really cool about those is that you can find them of celebrities. Like I found one of Tom Cruise, and threw it in, and it worked really great. And it also means that all the topology for the character model is a lot cleaner than a photo scan. So you can you don't have to go through that cleaning process. And you can also get super kind of stylized characters that are much more interesting or much more animated, Pixar-y feeling, and you can feed them in. Mesh to MetaHuman really doesn't care. It just cares that you have a human-ish bust. Sam Cruz, what's up? Hey Faraday, hey Alberto. Sorry I'm a little late. Okay, so I think we should get this started. And yeah, let's do it. So I'm actually going to stop my Okay, I did not like that, but, restarted and managed to reconnect. Sorry, everyone. Okay, so yeah, I just had Rokoko Studio running my suit, but I'm going to turn all that off for now, and we're really going to get into the whole MetaHuman process. So I'm going to take off these gloves. Stream definitely just crashed, but it's okay. And we are going to sit down while we do this. So I'm going to adjust this guy. And there we go. Okay, so let's get into it here. I'm also going to turn off my suit because we just don't need it running right now. We don't want anything else running while we're working in Unreal. So this was that Tom Cruise project that we were just in, right? Here's Tommy. Looks way better, lighting and stuff has such makes such a difference. So you can really make these guys look really good. And there's a big difference that's made when you have proper studio lighting and stuff. As you can see, I think this looks better than what we were just looking at, but that's just a matter of kind of optimizing. So I'm going to shut this guy down. I'm going to save it because we are going to start from scratch. So things that you'll need for this workflow is going to be the Rokoko plugin, which you can find on the marketplace. So type in Rokoko on the marketplace, you'll find it. Install it for Unreal 5. And then the other thing you're going to need is the new Mesh to MetaHuman plugin. So you go type in MetaHuman plugin. So you need this guy as well. And then the other things that you're going to need is going to be this bone maps folder. and this Mocap folder, both of which I'm going to have a link to download in the description below. The Mocap folder is just fixing a small bug that the Mesh to MetaHuman process has right now. So let's start a new project. We're going to start from scratch, and we're going to go find a bust, and then we're gonna get it all up and running. Yes. Oh yeah. Super ready for this. Okay, so we're gonna create a film and video blank project. I've got it saved to the right spot. We're gonna call this Tesla. We're gonna call it Nikola Tesla 2, because I've already got a Nikola Tesla bust that I've found that we're gonna be using. So this is just on Sketchfab. You know, you go to Sketchfab or CG Trader, type in bust, and you get all these busts, and a couple of them are free. So this Nikola Tesla one looks really great by Musho Genshin. So go give them some love, download this, give it a like. You know, great little bust. And we can pull this into Mesh to MetaHuman and recreate this guy using the new plugin. So I've already downloaded this fellow. And again, this is going to be in the free project file that I'm going to put up afterwards. So you can just download the project and it'll have this guy already up. Henry, the results for the Infinite Loop Challenge will be coming out the first week of June, I believe. I think that is when. Maybe a little bit after. So a little bit, because we had to line up the judging sessions with everyone. But we've seen some unbelievable submissions. So excited for that. Okay, so I've got Unreal open, new project, and you know what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go to Edit, Plugins, and I'm going to enable our plugin. So we need to enable the Rokoko plugin. Yes, it's going to ask for a restart. I'm not going to do that yet because we also need to enable the MetaHuman plugin. So just ignore those warnings, and then you can restart. Now, in the meantime, I'm going to open up Cinema 4D because the bust, you know, we need to check this bust before we just load it into Unreal. Mainly because we want to make sure... Oh, did I say June? I meant July. Yeah, July, not June. July for the results of the Perfect Loop contest. And again, yeah, we've seen some incredible ones. So thank you, everyone, for your submissions. We can't wait to go through them all with everyone and with the judges. But right, so I need to prep this bust model, and you would do the same thing if you had a photo scan, right? You'd have to bring it in and clean it up a little bit. In this case, we just need to make sure that anything we're feeding into Unreal has a UV map, because it kind of makes the process better. And then you might want to do some other prep on your models. So this is the Sketchfab download. So I'm going to import this. You can see it comes in really tiny. And again, you could use Blender for this sort of thing, or you know, you could use any of the programs, right? We're just checking this bust to make sure that it's going to work. So if we increase this, the first thing I'll do is just increase the size of it. Just something that's a little bit more, makes a little bit more sense. You know, bring it up a little bit. I might kind of square it off, although that doesn't really matter. Yeah, but the most important thing is we can see there's no UV map on this mesh. So we need to add a UV map. So I'm going to delete these, and I'm going to move into the UV mode of Cinema, and I'm going to select our model and go to set UV from projection. And it's not going to be a good UV map. It doesn't matter. We just need something to be on there. So this is messy as all hell. You know, it's probably not the way that you would do it properly, but it doesn't matter. It just matters that there is a UV map on there. And then I'm just going to add a basic material as well. So you need to, whatever bust or mesh that you're using for Mesh to MetaHuman, you want to make sure it has that UV map and that it's the right size, kind of. And you know, the other thing is a lot of busts you might find will have like tons of hair, or some, you know, flowing hair down, or some other odd feature of the bust. Not odd, but just part of the bust. Mesh to MetaHuman is really only concerned with like the skull, right? So I've done it a couple times where you'll just go in and you could, I don't need to do it on this one, but you could go in and just, you know, delete the hair if you wanted to. And, you know, you'd probably try to keep as much of the ears and everything, but, you know, you could delete the whole, you can delete all this, delete a whole back half of, you know, this is kind of what it needs to work, this amount of data. So you can do that if you have weird hair coming down the side or something. I'm not going to do any of that because we just don't need to, because this guy, his hair is pulled back and so he looks fine. So once we're done, I'm going to export an FBX. You know, just a basic FBX. And I actually already did it. So it's Tesla MetaHuman ident is what I called it. So I don't need to actually export it because I've already done so. But you would just export that FBX and now we can shut down Cinema or Blender or Maya or whatever you're using. I don't know. I just assumed that, yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's not right? That UV map was ugly. Okay, so now we're back in Unreal 5. Let me know. I'm going to make myself a little bit smaller here because I just don't want to get in the way of anything. And you know what? I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see me a little bit better. Okay, so now we need to bring that mesh into Unreal. So I'm just going to add, import to game. We're going to go find that mesh, Tesla MetaHuman ident, and open it up. And, you know, you shouldn't have to mess with any of these things if you've gone and cleaned it all up. I don't. There's probably different modes of thought there, but you don't need to, at least for the you know, the mesh that we're using today. And here it is. You know, it should look normal. If you don't have a UV map on it, it might look a little bit funny, you know. But anyway, okay, so we got our mesh in. There it is. Boom. We don't actually need to have it in the scene yet. Instead, we are going to right-click on our content browser. We're going to search for a meta. Sometimes you gotta move the cursor up, but MetaHuman identity. We're going to add that. We're going to call this Nikola Tesla 02. And we're going to open that up. And when you open it up, bring it over here, it's going to prompt a login to MetaHuman Creator. Hey, chat, what's up? So you need to have a MetaHuman Creator account to use this plugin. That's what it's all based around. It is free. I think you just have to sign up. I'm not sure how that works still. But okay, let's sign in. And not give away my password, hopefully. Oh, look at this. Don't think I've had to do this before. Motorcycle, motorcycle, motorcycle. Is a moped a motorcycle? It's a trick question. Bizarre. Never had to do that. Maybe it's because I've signed in and signed out so many times. So once you do that, you'll have access to this plugin window, right? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add components from Mesh. So we go search for our Tesla, add it in. Here we go. We got Nikola Tesla in the scene. So first thing we're going to do, and all of this is based off of the MetaHuman, Unreal MetaHuman, you know, documentation. It's pretty clear. So if you need help with this, you know, go look at that, and maybe I'll put a link in the description. But it's surprisingly straightforward. So first thing I'm going to do is click the body. I'm going to adjust the height. There's only 3, you know, types: short, medium, and tall. I'm going to make him tall, and I'm going to make him skinny because that's how I imagine Nikola Tesla. You can change all this later too, but I think you might have to do it to finish this process. You have to choose at least something. Then I'm going to click neutral pose. And for this, we want to click these 3 little, this little hamburger up here, because we want to change the field of view to something a lot more narrow. So we're going to change it to 15. And then what we want to do is we want to just maneuver the camera in such a place where his face fills up the screen, but you can see the top. of his skull. So that looks pretty good. Next, we're going to hit promote frame. And so this is the frame we're now going to be working with, essentially. And then I'm going to hit track active frame. So this is a semi-automatic process where we'll add these trackers. You can see these trackers categories up here on the right. And the important ones, as you can see, that it added are the eyes. And there's more options here. If you want to get more detailed with your mesh, you could go in and do the eye creases. You could do these eyelid outers. This is just the eyelids, which is pretty good to get a very detailed result. It's also going to do the, I forget what these are called. Well, we can probably look it up if we, where would that be? Nose, the nasolabial. So these guys, right? The creases next to your nose. So that's important to get. And then the mouth. And you can see here that it didn't do quite a very good job of the mouth. So this is when we would go in and we would just make a few changes. So you can zoom in. See, we have this locked frame that we're working with now. And you can zoom in and out. You can move it around. And what we're going to do is move some of these trackers to the proper part of his mouth. So this can be a little bit of a funny process because it's just a little bit laggy. It can be kind of hard to grab these trackers. Sometimes it's easier. Try and grab this one. Yeah, and what I've found is I'll like click the tracker, then maybe I'll go move the mouse around somewhere else in the frame, and then when I come back, I can actually grab the tracker. So, you know, click, and we don't want to grab this whole section. We just want to grab this one tracker. You can see it's a little bit laggy. And we're just gonna move these to the appropriate spots, right? This is the outside of the lip. You can see it doesn't really want to move. So if that happens, I just go and move the mouse, right? Then I can grab it, who knows why. That kind of worked, move that. Maybe we'll move this guy down a little bit. But this is, you know, it's not very difficult to do this. So you just go in, you make sure it looks as good as you want it. You know, you can have varying degrees of how obsessive you get about this. I don't need it to be super detailed. And in fact, it's kind of interesting when some of this maybe is off, because it could mean that, you know, you could create like a cleft lip or something if you just adjusted these a little bit. Yes, AV Tones, what's up? It is Tesla. So we've just adjusted these, and now we can go and hit MetaHuman Identity Solve. So when we hit this, we're gonna get a little progress bar. And again, I'm moving fast, but you know, you can go back and re-watch parts of it, or there's a lot of tutorials. I just really want to show the Rokoko workflow for this too later. But okay, so the solve is done, and now if we hit B, look at that. We have and we go back to the camera view. We have a MetaHuman mesh. So that's the original, and that's what the MetaHuman base is going to look like. So it looks really good. You can see though that these bits where the hairline is, it's doing some weird deformation with the skull. So those are things that we can go and fix in MetaHuman Creator. But yeah, now we're ready to basically go, you know? I'm happy with this. This looks super cool. Last thing we'll do is click that Mesh to MetaHuman button, and it's gonna send it up to MetaHuman Creator. And so you can see waiting for MetaHuman backend. It's basically thinking. And in the meantime, we're gonna go to MetaHuman Creator because it takes a long time for it to load. And so you can see they just updated MetaHuman Creator. So you can launch the latest or you can launch the original. I'm working with the latest now for everything, but there's a few quirks with the latest just because it was just launched and I think there was a couple oversight bugs. So we're gonna go through how to fix those. But the old version, if you launch the old version, you don't have access to these Mesh to MetaHuman figures. So you have to use the new version of MetaHuman Creator in order to use this Mesh to MetaHuman system. So we're gonna wait for this thing to load. It usually takes a little hot second. And I pour myself a little coffee. And again, I apologize for the speed, but I want this to kind of operate as a tutorial instead of a live stream. So I'm checking the chat, but I'm also just trying to make sure that we cover everything I want to cover. Okay, so as you can see here, we got this little update. MetaHuman is now available in Creator and Bridge. Boom. So at this point, I can shut this panel down. We don't need any of this stuff anymore. I'm going to leave Unreal open because we're going to come back to it in a little second. Okay, so here we go. We are in, you can see some horrible pixelation artifacts that I might actually reload this, but that is what we just uploaded, right? And let me know if there's anything odd with the audio on the stream. Sometimes that's been happening, so just let me know. Has anyone tried playing with this yet? I'm curious. It's super fun. And I'm really excited to do way more cartoonish characters loaded in because, you know, especially for animated features and things like that, like Pixar type things, you'll see a very high level of quality on the texturing and everything. But the characters, they don't look photorealistic. That's not what they're going for. They're going for that kind of more cartoony look. And you can, yeah, Arcane, exactly. Like, Arcane is, oh, failed to request a session. Thank you, Alberto. Yeah, Arcane is a really good example of that. And so this Nikola Tesla guy is kind of like that. Let me just make sure I'm not logged in on another. Okay, it's thinking. So this takes a little hot second. But yeah, Arcane style, you know, you can find busts for all sorts of things. Or if you work in ZBrush, you can, you know, you can actually create something for yourself. I've seen some really weird ones. I really want to feed in like a Ninja Turtle. Hat and X, I'm happy about that. I'm happy. I hope that it was, I can't wait to see your submission if you ended up submitting. I hope you did. Some incredible stuff was submitted, and everyone's just incredible because it's just different ideas and perspectives, and it's been super cool. I'm just so happy we've gotten as many submissions as we have. Yeah, the Jibara episode, yeah, also photorealistic but cartoony, you know, longer faces or different exaggerated features, and I think that's really just as interesting as the photo scans, which is what I think where my mind went immediately when you know, this came out. It was like, oh, I'm going to be able to photo scan myself and make a MetaHuman. So here's our Tesla. You can see here's my Tom Cruise that I did earlier, which you can tell here's a better studio lighting. And I think here's, you know, I did a Mads Mikkelsen. I already did the Tesla, so we won't have to download it. I already have it prepped in Quixel, so we'll get to that in a second. Look at that Tom. Come on. Looks pretty freaking good, in my opinion. It's amazing what you can get. Okay, but we're doing Tesla. So let's open it up. And so the first thing we're going to do is basically we're going to go to custom mesh and we're going to hit enable editing, because right now this MetaHuman is locked, which is kind of cool. They want you to keep your base, you know, model. So this will, by enabling editing, you'll duplicate and unlock this MetaHuman, right? So it'll think for a second, and it'll basically open up a duplicate. So we'll just wait for that to happen. You know, takes a little hot second, of course, but it will come back, even though this is a live stream and everything is fated to go wrong with a live stream. The more I keep talking about how it will come back, I'm sure it's not jinxing it at all, and it definitely will come back. Why, it's good to have coffee to drink. Zeus, I think there were over, I'm not sure. I don't want to say the wrong number. Over 200, maybe 300, I'm not sure, a bunch. We had a ton of signups, which doesn't usually translate to submissions one-to-one. I think there were over 1,500 signups. And so we got, you know, I don't know, 200 or 300 submissions. So yeah, pretty good. Okay, so Nikola Tesla, we're just gonna keep him. We're not gonna rename him, but we could rename him because he's a duplicate, right? And we're gonna go to custom mesh. And so this is the first, you know, now we're just getting into what I've been doing for mesh to MetaHuman that I've been finding useful. Kind of some tips and tricks for getting it, you know, to actually look like a human being. So the first thing is you can see this rhino point on the MetaHuman's head, and that might be something you want to keep. It's probably from the hair that was on the bust. So what we can do is we can select on custom mesh the top of the skull, and you can change, so you can see the overall influence from the mesh, but then you can do specific parts of the mesh. So we just want the head to be more normal, right? So look at what's happening. Look at these weird indentations. We don't want that. So I'm gonna down that to about 25%. And then on the forehead, so you can see that, whoop, whoop, that kind of rhino horn coming down. And I'm gonna leave a little because maybe it's a part of his skull, makes him a little bit more interesting, but we can always come back and reduce that. Yes, the textures will be nice because that's what we're doing next. We are gonna go and assign a skin texture. And so this is where like the artistry of doing the MetaHuman comes in, which is really tough because you can have that base skull looking really good, but then you got to get the skin right. You got to get the eyebrows right, the eye color, you know, all that stuff really ends up playing a really big role. And I love also, you can see already, can we zoom in here? You can see the lip is kind of like bizarre, which makes this look super human. Like the irregularities, right, are what make it look more human. But you know, Tesla, I assume he was a nerd, pretty pale, doesn't go see the sun that much, so this looks okay. But the really big part about skin texturing for MetaHumans is this texture right here. This is where you start getting a ton of that nice MetaHuman detail that makes things look super good, right? And if you scroll quickly, you can see all these different types. But what I've learned is that if you scroll this really slowly, there's micro transitions that happen between all these these more intense types. So the Tesla that we're gonna be making, and in my head, the Tesla that, you know, we kind of have, is like an older Tesla, right? He's gonna have white beard and mustache, and his skin needs to be a little bit older. So we'll cruise through and look for some nice wrinkles or something. I don't know, maybe like that. So that's a little too old maybe, so we can just cruise that back a little bit. But you know, liking all these little things that we're getting here and here, you know, on the chin, these little wrinkles, and on the neck, that's all from this skin texture slider. So this is the most important slider when it comes to texture, the skin that I've found. So let me just go back to how he had it. Where was that? That was like, yeah, that looks pretty good. Kind of red nose that I don't love. So there we go. Yeah, so that looks pretty good. So now we're gonna add some of the other things. So Katzy, you need a 3D model for this. That you need a bust. You need a mesh that this works off. You can't do it with photos yet. You can take a bunch of photos and make a mesh using reality capture software or tons of different softwares. That's pretty easy to make a photo scan of someone's head, and it's very cheap. You know, it's less than a $1 US to do it, and there's lots of free ones too. So there's varying degrees. But But yeah, okay, let's keep moving. We got freckles, we got accents, all this stuff. We're not gonna mess with that because we're not making something perfect. We want to get this guy back into Unreal. Normally, I do take a look at the eye color. Or hello from Moldova. What's up? AIO. The suit is pretty fixed price-wise. If anything, it'll become cheaper maybe in the future at some point. But you know, that's like, don't hold me to that. That would. If that ever happened, it would be because we would have some sort of new system on the market or something like that, which we're not there and don't have anything like that coming up. So the prices are essentially fixed. Bagheera, what's up? Okay, so we're gonna add some hair. So I'm imagining Tesla with this kind of matches what that mesh looked like, right? This is what we're going off of. So that's kind of like that. The big thing is going to be the mustache, obviously. But if we like this hair, which I think I do, what we're going to do is we're going to leave the color. Actually, we're going to make his hair a little bit browner. And then this is a huge one, this salt and pepper. So we can make, we're going to make him older. So we need to up this salt and pepper, up the roughness. If we change this to ray traced, we're going to get a much better result here. And we can adjust the salt and pepper lightness. But that looks pretty good. Old Tesla kind of guy. So I'm imagining him with big bushy eyebrows. So let's give him some big eyebrows. Let's just change that color so it's not black. And then same thing, salt and pepper, baby. He's old. So let's up that salt and pepper. Let's up that roughness. And then the one that's really going to sell it, of course, is the Tesla mustache. Long, messy mustache. Maybe. There we go. That old-timey point, baby. We add a color to this, right? A little brown. And then the big thing is this salt and pepper. Want to up that salt and pepper. And then the last thing that I might do is you can see that he has these, the pixelation has come back a little bit, so sorry about that. But he has these really red lips. So sometimes I will go into makeup and add a little lip color. And then under color, I'm just gonna go and make it a little bit less intense, right? So kind of more natural. A little bit pink, but not crazy. And then the last thing that I like to do is I actually do like to just add a little stubble. Because the stubble is it adds so much of interest to the face. And same thing, I'm gonna, make it very salt and peppery. So you almost don't even see it. And I might even change the color to match his skin a little bit more. Because I just want to see a little bit of the light hitting that stubble. You know what? I don't like his hair, so let's go back and let's try a couple different hairstyles here. That's the whole point of MetaHuman Creator. Look at that, cornrows, pretty dope. There was like a really good, going big, short casual, short clean, maybe like that. He's a scientist. But yeah, there you go. And of course, the last thing, this is Tesla. It's supposed to be Nikola Tesla. And so, yeah, if we want to see this guy in action, we can hit idle. We can actually look at some of these movements. I think Tesla would be like amazed, right? He's oh my God, amazing. Oh, my inventions, they're working. I'm changing the world. And of course, the last thing that you can do is add, you can adjust the proportions. Maybe we want to make him a big guy. I imagine him not eating a lot of food and being rail thin, so that's how I'm going to have him. Tops, give him a little button down. We can change the color. Give him some slacks. Give him some Oxfords. you know? There we go. We got a little Nikola Tesla. And so that, yeah, Sandberg would be good. He has the right nose for it. You know what I mean? He's got that power nose, which Tesla always seems to be portrayed with as well, and seems to have had. But yeah, this looks really good. So how do we get this guy into Unreal and work in real time with some mocap? So that's what we're going to tackle next. And what I've actually already done, and yeah, I mean, this is like, the thing that's so amazing about this to me is that maybe he doesn't look exactly like Tesla, but he looks like how I might imagine a AAA game would portray Tesla. Like, it doesn't have to be one-to-one. You know, and if we go back, I found this, like, let's go look at, you know, at this point, so it all saves automatically as well. So now that we're done, it's saved and we can bring him into our project. I just want to show off some of these other ones that I've done. I tried to do a Snape. That didn't work so good. But the Mads Mikkelsen, like, I could totally see this being used in a game where you have Mads Mikkelsen playing the actor or something. Like, it looks fine. It's not perfect, and there's a lot more that you could do, I'm sure, to make it look better. But, like, it gets you close enough that it, you know, gives you some super interesting results. Tried Geralt to various degrees. And these are all just from busts that I found online. Little Henry Cavill. Looks okay. Looks pretty good. But anyway, now that we're done actually making our MetaHuman, what we'll do is we'll go back to Unreal. And now we're going to open up Quixel Bridge. So this is Unreal 5, of course. And once you open up Quixel Bridge, which is built into Unreal now, you just go up to this plus, Quixel Bridge. You have to log in, which I'm already logged in here. And if you go to MetaHumans, My MetaHumans, you'll see automatically updating all the different MetaHumans that you've gotten. So I've already, this was the previous Nikola Tesla that I already made because they're quite beefy to download and I don't want to download it on stream. So I've already downloaded this Tesla and he's ready to go. This is the one that we just made. So I would just hit download if I wanted to get him in. Here's the Tom. So in order to get the MetaHuman into the project though, you got to go and download it from there. And then it'll show up under My MetaHumans in local. And at this point, we can just hit export into our MetaHuman project. And it's gonna have a bunch of progress bars, but it's basically loading in the MetaHuman into Unreal. And again, I'm going to be uploading this project file as a free project file so you can get in there and start playing around with Tesla. You know, and I'm going to take out the actual bust because you can go find that on Sketchfab for yourself for free, but I'm not going to distribute that here because that would be not a good thing to do. You should go to the artist page and give them some love because it's a great little bust that they made. So this is going to load. We're just going to wait for this guy to do its thing. As these things pop up, we're just going to hit enable missing on all of them. And now I can actually close Quixel. And you'll see I have this MetaHumans Nikola Tesla folder that's here. And it requires a restart. So we're going to restart. Boom. And it will also require a restart when you enable your Rokoko plugin and the MetaHuman plugin, right? But we already did that in this project at the beginning of the stream, so we don't need to do that again. They're already enabled. And you know, as we set up the Rokoko mocap portion, I'm gonna cruise through it a little bit. We have a tutorial that I will put in the description below, but I'll also put it in the chat right here. Rokoko 4.27. Excuse me. Burp. Share. So this is the workflow for MetaHumans right now, and this is the workflow I'm going to be using, right? So we did a restart. Now let's actually set up our MetaHuman for use. So we're probably gonna have to compile a bunch of shaders. So I'm gonna open up this main MetaHuman blueprint right here, Nikola Tesla, which you can just find in Content, MetaHumans, Nikola Tesla. I'm gonna wait while it thinks. It's probably not gonna like this. Enter the compiling shader memes. Feel free to skip ahead while this does its thing. Compiling shaders. So MetaHumans are big and beefy. So 2,500 shaders to compile. And while we do that, while this happens, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to add this bone maps folder and this mocap folder into our project once this is done compiling. And so the bone maps folder, this has a bunch of bone maps that you basically need for the mocap blueprint process. And so for MetaHumans, you have everything you need. You don't need to build these bone maps from scratch. Just download this folder, and I'll put it in the description below right after the stream. And it'll have a bunch of things that we're going to use while we set up the MetaHuman, right? This mocap folder is because they kind of have messed up the mapping on the AR kit currently for the new MetaHuman. So it's a small error. I'm sure it's just didn't get caught in time. I'm sure they'll fix it within the week probably, but maybe not. And so this might be irrelevant by the time you get to it, but we're gonna put this mocap folder in our project folder somewhere as soon as these shaders finish compiling. So I'm gonna let that keep doing its thing. And you can feel free to skip ahead if you're watching this later, because this does take a hot little second. And I'm tempted to just start, I'm always tempted to start this process while these guys are still compiling, but it's kind of just asking for trouble. The best thing that you can do is let it do its thing and then start creating blueprints and doing things in Unreal after it's done. So I'm gonna pour some coffee and we're gonna wait for this guy to do its thing. And maybe we'll go and see what other mesh to MetaHuman things have been happening. Let's go to YouTube and see if there's any other good tutorials. JS Films has a great one as always. He's great. Covers a lot of things Unreal, so I always end up going to his channels inevitably because he has great stuff. Mesh to MetaHuman. So this is Unreal's tutorial, and this is great. You know, it's 7 minutes long. It goes through the whole process that we just did with the active trackers and how to load it up and how to do add skin and all this different stuff. So this is a great tutorial to follow if you want to get started. It's super easy to follow. In general, I think Unreal documentation is really clean, and you know, this is no different. 5 hours ago, so they just, oh, that's cool. So this is a human skull that they recreated based on fossils, I guess. And then they brought it into, wow, that's cool. Mesh to MetaHuman. We're able to recreate him. Super awesome. The other thing we can do is let's go to Sketchfab and go find some other fun busts, because there's so many good free ones out there, and of course always give attribution. But you know, any of these would work. Nefertiti, This is super cool. You know, man, I want to go and like do this. This would be awesome. This would be super interesting. And if I was prepping, you know, this one, I would probably delete, I don't know, maybe I would just leave the whole head thing as is and you just adjust it in MetaHuman Creator. But that's, you know, how cool is that? Go recreate Isaac Asimov. Here's Tesla. Here's the one that we used. And then, you know, there's lots of statues that are interesting, or like the Na'vi. You know, you got Thanos. You got a million of these people out there that you know, Putin. You want to get political. Let's see if we can find an arcane sculpt. No, bust. So here's Mel. So you go load her up and get a photorealistic E, not purely photorealistic. Absolutely. Yeah, and you know, obviously the thing that Mesh to MetaHuman really cares about is these bigger face shapes, right? So it doesn't matter, you don't need the texture to be detailed. That's not what you're looking for. You are looking for defined aspects of the face, right? So you could pull video game characters. Like Super Smash is probably a little bit too low poly to pull like a good face shape, but if you find a bust of Captain Falcon, you know, you could make it work. Okay, so with that finished, and I'm actually going to shut down this project because I'm going to go add those two folders into our project. So I'm going to go find our main project folder. This is where we put it. Nikola Tesla 2. And so here's our Unreal project we were just in, right? So I'm going to go into content. I'm going to go into, and now I'm going to drop in my bone maps folder into this content folder. So now I got all my bone maps. But then I'm going to go into MetaHumans, common, and you can see this is that mocap folder. So I'm going to delete this mocap folder, and I'm going to add this one that you'll be able to download in the description below. So you need to add both the bone maps and this mocap folder to your project folder before everything is going to work. So now we can reopen up our project and actually prep the blueprints and get this guy, you know, working with live mocap. Spilled. It's okay. Rokoko suits are resilient. So we're going to do this quickly because I actually want to hop back in and control him so we can see this whole process from start to finish. Okay, so boom, we're back in Unreal. I'm going to go into MetaHumans. I'm going to go into Nikola Tesla, and I'm going to open up this Nikola Tesla blueprint. So all of these MetaHuman folders are basically constructed the same way. And that's kind of where you want to go to get started. So here's our guy. Look at this. So the first thing I always do is I'm going to go down to LOD sync, level of detail, and I'm going to make the forced LOD 0. So I want it to always be at the highest quality level of detail. Because if it's at -1, it will automatically switch based on where my camera is, which will mean if my camera's far away, it'll actually get rid of the hair entirely. So I always do this first because I just want it to be at 0. You know, you can make it 1 through 8. There's 8 levels of detail for MetaHumans. Now, what I would normally do, and what it tells you to do in our Rokoko tutorial, is next we're gonna go mess with the body blueprint. And a good way for getting to your MetaHuman's body blueprint is, you know, we're in the main MetaHuman Nikola Tesla blueprint. If you select body and you double click skeletal mesh, it's going to open up the skeletal mesh. And you can see here, this is another little bug in the current MetaHuman creator, you know, project file. So you can see here that this is our skeleton for our MetaHuman. Male, tall, underweight, skinny, right? So normally what we do is we go and click blueprint here, and that would take us to the blueprint for this skeleton, for this mesh. But you'll see as soon as we hit blueprint, it's going to take us to the female medium normal weight blueprint, which is kind of the baseline blueprint for your metahumans for whatever reason, which is not where we want to make changes, because that's not what this metahuman uses. So instead of doing the normal thing, which would be, again, going to the main blueprint, selecting body, going to skeletal mesh, instead we are going to go to the actual location of this blueprint for our metahuman. So that is not located. We go into the MetaHumans folder. Here's Nikola Tesla. It's not in here. We're going to go to common. And then we're going to go to male. And even though we don't have a short skeleton, there's one there. We're going to ignore that, right? Because our skeleton is tall. We have male, tall, underweight. Male, medium, tall, underweight is the blueprint, right? So we go to tall, underweight, body, and this is where the blueprint is located. And you can see even here some of the effects of this weird bug. You know, here's the physics mesh. You can see it's a tall male, and here's the actual blueprint, and it looks like this medium female for some reason. So let's double click this, and even though we can see the blueprint this doesn't look right. This is not a tall, this is a medium female like body. You can see the breasts here. It is reading male, tall, underweight. So that we're in the right place now. So again, we went to MetaHumans folder, common, then you go to male or female, depending on what your metahuman type is, and you're gonna go hunt down that body blueprint here. So once this opens up, now we're following the Rokoko tutorial as you normally would. It's gonna open us up in the event graph. I'm gonna click animation graph. I'm gonna make some room here at the end. We've loaded in our Rokoko plugin. So if I type in Rokoko, these nodes will show up, which you need to have enabled your Rokoko plugin to have access to these nodes. I'm gonna wire this body pose node in between the control rig and the pose driver. And then I'm gonna go and I'm gonna add a couple variables. So I'm gonna add one variable. I'm gonna call this Rokoko actor name, and I'm going to change the variable type to name. Then I'm going to add a new variable, and I'm going to call this Rokoko body map. And for the variable type on this one, I'm going to go select variable type, and I'm going to type in Rokoko. I'm going to go find this Rokoko body map data, and I'm going to select class reference. Boom. So once you've added those two variables, you can add them to your scene. I'm gonna drag them in, click get Rokoko body map, add in the name, click get. And now we're gonna wire these into this pose node here. So the name goes into the Rokoko actor name, and the body map goes into this retarget asset. And now, if we hit compile and we save, ignore all this visual weirdness. It's something with that bug that it doesn't matter though. We're on the right track. But you can see we got a couple more options here under this pose this body pose node. So under Rokoko body map, if we twirl this drop down, that bone maps folder that we added, that's what all this stuff is. So if you have a Paragon character and you're doing the same process, we have Paragon bone map. We have a DAZ bone map, character creator bone map, but we're interested in this MetaHuman bone map. So we're gonna select that, and you'll see, very important, changes made to preview only. Changes will not be saved unless you hit apply. So hit apply, compile, save. We're not gonna add in a name. We do that somewhere else. We're gonna leave that blank, but we are gonna go to this control rig node, and under control rig class, we're gonna go select Rokoko MetaHuman T-Pose, and this was also in that Bone Maps folder. So let's click that. And now when we hit compile, we're gonna get a T-Pose. And so you can see this is the actual MetaHuman skeleton, tall, skinny, and this is the female medium. Again, ignore all this stuff, it doesn't matter. We are now done with the body blueprint. So compile and save one more time just to be sure, and we can exit out of this. So next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna make one slight change to the face blueprint, because MetaHumans have a classic problem all of them when working with the AR kit, which is that the lower lip does not close fully when your mouth is closed, when you're using a mocap, facial mocap app. So we're gonna select the face. We're gonna go through the normal process now, which works for this. We're gonna double click on that skeletal mesh right here. It's gonna open up the mesh, and we're gonna click blueprint. And this is going to take us to the right blueprint this time, face anim BP. It's gonna open up in the event graph. We don't wanna be there, we wanna be in the anim graph. Double click that, and we're gonna go in, and right between live link pose and this ARKit mapping pose, we're gonna add a new node. So I can drag out from here, modify curve node, and it's gonna automatically link it in. So once here, we're gonna kind of face another weird bug, but it should be fine. We're gonna right click on this animation pose little guy here. We're gonna go down to add curve pin, and we're gonna look for mouth shrug lower. So this is bizarre. I don't know why this is happening, but essentially, if we enter 0.5, which is what we want to do, we want to enter 0.5, which is just going to make that lip by default a little bit higher. If we make that 0.5 and we can hit compile, what we should see, we should see this lower lip go up a little bit. And let's see what happens. Compile. Okay, so it worked. I don't know. Sometimes I've been doing this and the upper lip will come down for whatever reason, but ignore that if it happens. It just is a visual hiccup. So you want to do mouth shrug lower 0.5. Compile, save, boom, and now we're almost done, but we're not done quite yet. So because the next thing we need to do is go back to that main Nikola Tesla blueprint, that main blueprint, big scary looking one. And here we're going to add some final nodes. So we're going to drag in the body from this this tree right here. From the body, we're going to add a get anim instance node. This is all in the tutorial that we have for MetaHumans that'll be in the description below or is in the chat. From this get anim instance, we're gonna do cast to, and we want to cast to the body blueprint we're using for this MetaHuman. So in this case, you might remember it's male, tall, underweight, right? So if we do cast to space M, there it is. Male, tall, underweight. And again, if we put F, here's female, medium, normal. We don't want that, right? We want to cast to male, tall, underweight. We want to cast to the skeletal mesh, the blueprint for our MetaHuman skeleton, which is not that female, medium, normal, as it is by default for whatever reason. So make sure you're casting to the right blueprint. Oh, Catsy, I'm gonna put them all in the description right after this. Okay, so now we're gonna attach event begin play to this cast to, and then from this cast to, we're gonna drag out this and hit set Rokoko actor name. Boom. So I'll connect to this, and here is where I'm going to add the actor profile name I'm using in Rokoko Studio. So in this case, it's Sam. Let's open up Rokoko Studio. I'll just show you what I mean. Open this guy up, but if we open up a recording, your actor profile is this name right here that you have assigned to your suit, right? I'm gonna open up this mesh to MetaHuman. I'm gonna leave Rokoko Studio open with Sam. So once you've set that, I'm gonna connect this set back into our node tree here. And at this point, we are done, although I wanna make sure that there's no, looks like there's a space, but there is no space, so I'm gonna hit compile, save. So we are almost done here. We're done with the blueprints. So at this point, we can actually go and add our Tesla to the scene. So I'm gonna drag him in, I'm gonna reset his position, getting this little arrow here, comes in a little under the ground, I don't know why. Hit F to center him. Got a little lag because it's a beefy project and I'm doing a lot of things.